So in this session, we're going to be exploring how to run a job alignment meeting. So you would typically run a job alignment meeting to try and refine your predictive index job target. Now, your job target is for behavioral characteristics of what a job needs to be successful. And you would map your potential candidates to this job target to look for alignments. Now, we always recommend using a whole person model, which is a model where we look at head, heart, briefcase. Head being predictive index behavior and cognitive data, heart being culture and values, and briefcase being experience and qualifications. So it may be they are slightly out on the head, on the PI data, but they're a great culture and value fits. We've got great experience and qualifications, and that's okay. What we're simply saying is using the whole person and all that data is going to help you make a more informed decision. So there are a number of ways we can build a job target. I think there's 5 ways. So first of all, we can use that PI data. PI have been in business for over 65 years. And for positions that don't change much, like a bookkeeper, for example, the predictive index data is going to be quite good. But for positions that do change, for example, maybe an operations director, it's a very different organization to organization, we may want to do a different method. So, for example, we can use our knowledge of the PI science to manually build a job target. Typically, you'd want to do the 2-day drive results to talent course for that, because it requires a much deeper understanding on primary factors, factor combinations, etc. Or you can send an assessment out to be completed by people who know the job, and that's going to take that data and produce a job target for you. And that's why we would typically run an alignment meeting, because sometimes you get different results back. So we're going to cover that in a bit. We can also clone people or benchmark, which gives us the ability to look at some top performers and take their data. And we can even compare that with the alignment data on the assessment and get a really refined, solid job target. And that's what we're going to look at in this session on how to run that. Okay, so let's jump in. So you can see in front of me, we've got the predictive index dashboard. You can see we have the 4 modules at the top, and we're going to be working in the hire module. And you'll see on the right-hand side, you've got recent job activities. So we're going to be working in this operations director job. Now, if we wanted to send out the assessments ahead of time, all we would do is when we create the job, we press the button in the top right corner. We put operations director. And we find the closest match. There we go. And we press create job. Now, if we wanted to use the predictive index data, we just start with this target and it's going to produce a target straight away. We can do it in 30 seconds. But remember, for jobs which are very similar, company to company, that works great. But for this job, an operations director, this could be quite specific to my company. So I'm not going to start with this target. Instead of pressing start this target, I'm going to press view additional options. And that's going to give me 2 choices. I can do a guided job targeting process and send to stakeholders. If I press the guided process, it's going to take me straight into that form. And I can actually run through this form. It's a few pages. It will move on to the cognitive, and it's going to spit out a job target within about a minute. But I can send this same form to multiple people, which is going to allow me to run a job alignment meeting, of which we're going to go through in a second. So if I pop back, what I would typically do is go operations director, click my closest match, create job, view additional options, send to stakeholders. So I can send that same assessment to multiple people who know the job, been in the job, work with the job, who are going to give me a good indication of what the job needs behaviorally. What I do want to do before I send them this is quickly send them an email to tell them it's coming. So they may be a bit confused about what they're looking at. So in the comment section, I've got a little template you can download just to let the stakeholders know they're receiving an assessment. It's to behaviorally assess the job. It should take a few minutes. So feel free to download that in the comments. So we'd send that out. We can also up here add some benchmark data. So these would typically be my top performers, and I can put some in. There we go. So maybe Zoe and Irene are my top performers. I'll put the email addresses in to send for job assessments. That's going to automatically send that assessment. And you'll see the results in here, or you'll see the names you've sent it to just below the benchmark data, and it will say pending. And then when they come in, you'll see basically the same as what you're looking at here, but instead of benchmark, it's going to say assessment. I'm going to show you in a second. In fact, I will show you now. So if we pop back to the dashboard, I have one I completed earlier. And so if we want to adjust it while we've already built it, so maybe we've used the PI data just to have a look, I just go modify target, manage stakeholder input, and that's going to bring me into this view here. Now we can actually send the assessment from here. If we go to add more contributors, that's going to allow me to send it to some more contributors. But this is one I built earlier, so I've got some assessment data already in here. But what I am going to do is put some benchmark data in here. So let's put Sadiq and Nolan. And let me see who else I've got who would work. Let's do Andrea. Okay, confirm. So you see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who've completed the assessment, and I've got 3 top performers down at the bottom. So what I would do here is I would try and get the core team, the stakeholder team in a meeting and run an alignment meeting. So maybe Damon's my results. I'm Damon. We got Angela, we got Neil, we got Candida, and Daryl here. So what we do, we'll get them into a room, we'll explain to them what we're trying to do. And how I typically do it is I use my People Data Toolbook. This is available to download if you check out the link below. If you're doing this meeting, it's worthwhile, definitely worthwhile completing the Drive Results of Talent workshop, because you're going to get questions about the science, and you really want to be, give the team confidence that this methodology works. So understanding root science becomes very important. But what I usually do is I start off with the top one, and I just look at the A, and I just talk through what the A is. So dominance is the behavioral drive to insert influence over people and events. So on the far side, we're looking at someone who's very independent, likes to put their thumbprint on stuff. To the left, someone who's much more collaborative. So this role with this A, Damon here, has got someone we say moderately, very extremely, each line. So this is someone just moving into very independent on the A. So from there, I just quickly go down, I look at Angela's results. Now, Angela has got 2 sigmas low, very collaborative. Neil on the A, same again. Candida, a bit more situational, but definitely towards the left. Dow's to the left. And let's look at the benchmark data. Sadiq's to the left. Andrew's to the left, or situational, and Nolan is to the left. Now, it would appear that Damon is the only one really misaligned here. However, we need to test that. We need to speak to Damon and say, hey, you think the role needs someone a lot more independent and less collaborative. Can you talk through that? And it may be that Damon's got a thought no one else has considered. Maybe they've been assessing the job on what it used to be, or not what it needs to be in the future. So actually, maybe Damon's right. But in this case, let's just say he's not. I'm usually not right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the other A's, and we want to try and kind of figure out a kind of average, which is around here. And we're going to want to make it 1 sigma wide. Now, a sigma is each of these lines. It's 1 sigma. It's 2 sigma. So we just want it 1 sigma wide. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that, only like 2% of profiles will be past these 2 sigmas in this far corner. So although that doesn't mean that you don't want someone that strong or that low or that high, it's just worth considering. And there's a point system on a job target, and some people, you may get someone who's a better fit, who's wider, but we set a little bit midpoint because more people are going to fall into that target. So just be very careful, as numbers can be very misleading. So you do maybe want to give it an extra bit of due diligence when you look at these profiles coming in. So we're going to set it here. And then I'm going to move on to the B. So B is extroversion. We've done dominance, now on extroversion. This is for drive for social interaction with others. So on the far right, got some very sociable, wants to happy with new people, wants to be around people. And to the left, we've got someone more reserved. So again, let's look at Damon's on the right. And then most of the other ones are to the left here. So apart from Andrea, she's a benchmark data. Now, remember, people can stretch. She may be much more sociable, but she chooses to stretch, and her other profiles may be perfect. So we're going to move that down here. Okay. That's about right. Now I'm going to move on to the C. So we're looking at formality. This is the behavioral drive for consistency and stability. To the right, someone who's steady, consistent. To the left, someone's very flexible, maybe a bit more driving. So again, Damon's way out on the left here. Angela's to the right. Neil's to the right. We got situational to the right, Sadiq. And the benchmark data is mostly to the right as well. So we're going to explore why Damon thought that. Let's just say he's wrong again. And we're going to adjust it accordingly. Let's just see if that's right. I think so. The last one, we're going to look at the D, which is formality, the behavioral drive to follow rules and structure. To the right, someone who's very precise, likes playbooks, like rule books. Like, to the left, someone who doesn't like to be confined within the rules. So over here, Damon's saying to the right, and it looks like we've got a lot of alignment there. Yeah, a lot of alignment to the benchmark data and the assessment data. So maybe we move it out here a little bit because it's the average. And there you go. We have a job target. So after we've done that, we want to make sure we solicit that good feedback. There is a choice to get a lot deeper. I often use for continuums of expression here to talk about the words which represent the behavior, because the wider you are, the more intense the behavior. But once we've got here, it's going to recommend 3 profiles. I'm going to want to read these profiles just to make sure they resonate. And then we're going to pop down to the cognitive here. So again, Damon's kind of gone a bit crazy there, but if we press all of them, we're going to get an average. Actually, let's take Damon's out. I'm going to set it manually. It's about 180 is pretty much what everyone's put. Let's put that. Perfect. And we're going to accept target. Okay. Actually, by pressing these, my mistake is it's kind of adjusted these sliders a bit. So just bear in mind, if you press, these automatically link to the top ones. So just bear that in mind. So I'm going to readjust this. Here we go. Let's just say it's this. And we're going to accept. And that's going to give us our job target. So one last thing to do is your candidates are going to naturally pop in here. Let's have a look. There we go. So that link, depending on how you do it, the link will automatically populate candidates below. But before we finish this alignment meeting, what we want to do is quickly go to the job report. We're going to read through, it's going to recommend 3 out of 17 reference profiles. So we're going to read through each one. So it could be a guardian and unselfish and approachable with preference for detailed skill-based work, or an operator, patient, conscientious, relaxed and cooperative team worker. An artisan is an accommodating and analytical while producing highly precise and accurate work. So you want to read through these. It's going to have some terminology and language, which is going to kind of describe the individual and job a bit further, including noteworthy behaviors. We just want to read through this and make sure this resonates. And if it does, we're good to go. We can accept, and we have a pretty accurate job target. Just a final note, don't forget the whole person and head, heart, briefcase. There's a great article in the links below. We want to make sure we're using lots of data to make a better hiring decision. And remember, be a bit careful of those numbers. There's an overall score here, but let's look at this 7 or 9. Let's look at the 9. So here, a good example. Now it's a high score, but it may be that D's are non-negotiable. Remember, when it moves over the midpoint, that's a total behavior change. So it may be they've got a high score, but for one ABCD, let's say it's formality, maybe that's the non-negotiable. That's the one that has to be on, and they're to the left of the midpoint. So be a bit careful of those numbers, and make sure you define those non-negotiables in that meeting. You may want to give it a little of extra due diligence when you're kind of deciding on candidates. The numbers can be a little bit deceiving. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Comments below, please like and subscribe because it helps our algorithms and we can produce more videos like this helping everyone. And thank you. We hope you enjoyed.